So, acolytes, let's continue the shopping.
And then they immediately hire another team for their next project. They already view you as compartmentalized. They already just view you as asset creators. See, at least these small
Yeah, the thing is, asset creators. I mean, these days, it's basically just for a store. It's a freaking sweatshop. Let's be honest here. Effing gaming sweatshop.
indie teams are more honest about it. At least these indie teams, they put out honest listings. Hey, I'm looking to hire an artist to do some concept work for me. And you know right off the bat, you might be hired for other projects if the guy likes your work, but you know that contract is for that concept art, and that's it. Every artist in games knows how hard it is to make a living doing what you love. If you fell for that do what you love and the money will follow line, you have it coming. I'm sorry. In-house artist positions have faded away as companies look overseas to produce as many assets as humanly possible at the lowest living wage. You do realize this applies to developers as well, right? You think that us code monkeys haven't been dealing with outsourcing? Man, these people are just special. This writer is so clueless. Like, he has no idea about anything he's talking about. Like, you could tell that this entire article is just an emotional fear response because he knows he is among the bloat that there will be no place for as the industry changes. So he's just living in fear himself and trying to fear monger. Enthusiasm for ad-generated assets that look like dog shit. I love how even this bitterness is still there. Yes, a lot of AI art looks like dog shit. But if actual good artists put some effort into cleaning it up, it could look way better than what most people can put out. Yeah, I still remember that what triggered all of this. Remember, it was when an AI won an art contest. Until they knew it was AI, all of these fart-sniffing POSs, they were praising it. They were praising how awesome that artwork was. And then the creators admitted they used AI to generate it.
Yep.
And now suddenly it's the worst thing ever. That's the level of intelligence we're dealing with. Nudging this trend along in the gun for hire mindset. Working artists aren't worth anything to game development because they're producing goods to be used, not participants in the process. Art directors are slightly more stable position, but only by virtue of knowing what looks good and telling someone else what they want to do. So, speaking as somebody who is hiring artists to do work, notice that they're still there. Kind of weird, right? And they got input into the projects too. I wonder why that is. Why does reality not match the fear mongering? Oh wait, I know. It's because the artists I work with aren't useless fucking bloat.
Fair enough. Fair, I think enough. On point. Yes. You simply don't have parasites as your workers. And it's fine. Who would have thought? If you actually give a fuck about your job and try to do the best thing you can and search for the best people for the job, you will get better freaking results. Who would have thought?
See, when you find good people, you will go out of your way to keep them. Even if there's a slow period, I will still pay them just to keep them on.
Yes.
Like, no. I'd rather not risk you going anywhere else. So, yeah, just take it easy for a week or two until I got something else for you. I'll still pay you. When you find actual good people, you will do what you need to do to not lose them.
And this includes good payment. And even if they have a slower week, then it is what it is. It's just 1 week or a few weeks of a lifetime, for fuck's sake. And everybody has a slower week from time to time. And just because it's slower doesn't mean that it will freaking stay or that any work isn't done. They still can do their fucking work.
This guy is useless bloat. And most people are useless bloat in this industry, unfortunately. No one's going to put effort in to keep them around. As someone who recently shipped his second game as a writer, the cuts to game narrative teams hit close to home. You want to know why game narrative teams are getting cut? Because they're releasing dog shit content.
Correctly.
It's not hard. If you keep pushing this woke dog shit that nobody actually wants, yeah, you're gonna get cut. I'd be willing to bet money
As you
that
should.
Nikkei's narrative team over at Shift Up isn't getting cut because they're producing good work. This ain't rocket surgery here. The GDC current year state of the industry survey reported that 11% of developers laid off in the last year. 19% of them worked in the game narrative, the highest of any responding demographic. Well, because that's probably the biggest offender for why games suck nowadays. I mean, the art is secondary to that, but the artists are just making what the writers told them to make. So yeah, I think the industry recognizes who the problems are and they're fixing them. Two diverging trends are hurting this field: the growth of successful games that don't feature much narrative, either focusing on deep game mechanics or story-light multiplayer, and the spread of story-driven games authored by a creative director and maybe one or two collaborators create conditions that lower the number of available jobs. So doesn't that prove that you're not necessary? How can you justify your existence as a writer when small teams of just a creative director and two collaborators can write a better story than if they hired you? In what world does this make sense? How can you say that's a bad thing? Obviously, you're not good at your job. If they get rid of you and the result is a better story that players like more, is there any other conclusion we can draw from this than...
You know what? No. The person just sucks. It's a parasite. I'm gonna be honest, acolytes, I said it for years now. And I am happy, or I feel vindicated, that finally, step by step, people just realize how fucked up those parasites are and how useless they are. Fuck yeah.
And you just suck? Maybe you should look into another profession. Game writers have long described frustration with how they're treated
McDonald's
in the industry,
awaits.
often brought in later in the process and sometimes treated as if they lie in opposition to the rest of the development team. Well, if they're the ones that are pushing wokeness while the rest of the team is resisting, yeah. Some studios learn on the job or leaned on the job title narrative designer for professionals who write and implement narrative events, but that still speaks to a mistrust of the profession, and producing words isn't enough to bring value to a team. If you're good at it. Once again, if the creative director and two collaborators can produce better words than a alleged professional like you, you're not exactly making a strong case to hire you, man. So I'd go back to giving us one creator's vision. Now that, I think, hits the nail on the head. Well, part of the reason these games are so bad now is they're just so corporate and done by committee. All of the best games, at least when it comes to stories, come from the mind of one creative and maybe a few people supporting them. But you can't do this committee shit when it comes.
Yeah, and the thing is, yes, it comes from one person because there is a focus. If you can focus on something, then it's better. And normally, if you have like one or two people that just help you with that, that's fine. But if you have about 10 and everybody adds something or denies something or says, oh, I'm offended by that, yeah, then fuck off. This just won't work. It just won't. Because everybody is the fucking smartest person in their minds.
Comes to creative decisions. You gotta have a concrete creative vision But bloat like you wouldn't understand that, would they? Finally, game audio and music professionals both produce work that can be bundled into licensable libraries with implementation left to designers on a team. Sometimes this work is essential. The number of sounds a game needs can't be produced by an individual human. The composers don't always want to be tied to one studio. Working with multiple teams frees them to explore creative projects and keep working when they aren't, and is now or unnecessarily needed on a day-to-day game development environment. But again, treating them this way puts them on the rim of a game development wheel, implying the labor could be deprioritized by true talent that deserves to reap the benefits of game design. I think that the true talent is the one that's in this environment. They're the ones that benefit. Yeah. And look, I sing the praises of audio design in games all the time. Like Deep Rock Galactic, for example, has some of the best audio design out of any game I ever played. And I know
Hell
this,
yeah.
believe me.
True. I'm not a big shooter fan, but I played with my friends. Deep Rock Galactic, effing legendary. And it's not just the sound, it's also the entire thing around it. It's just magnificent. The feeling of your weapons, the splatter, and even, well, okay, the melee hit is a bit shitty, but it still feels halfway good.
I notice. So just like with visual artists, if you find yourself a top tier audio artist, you do everything in your power to keep those people around. If no one is fighting to keep you around, maybe you just not that good. Look, it would be one thing if clueless middle managers were making decisions to cut people, because like they always make the wrong decisions, right? But when it's the creatives,
come on, sometimes a good middle manager actually knows what the fuck he's actually talking about and can provide basically a look in from a different side. Because it's not as easy as to say everybody sucks in that one, but most of middle managers are fucking Karens and just suck.
Themselves.
So, yeah, I understand why.
That want nothing to do with you. You should take the hint. When the best people in the company decide to go off on their own to make their own game, and they don't invite you, take the hint. A decentralized creative community needs to benefit creatives. Oh, yeah, and see, this is another thing bottom feeders always do. They have to turn everything into a community. So they need it to be a community because otherwise the talented individuals will split themselves off from them, and they'll become successful without them. In order for these parasites to keep attaching themselves to their superiors, they need to trick their superiors into believing that that there's some value in the community. Meanwhile, I guarantee you, every one of these people who actually has talent, they all view the community as standing in their way.
Yes.
They tolerate it if there's something the community offers them, but the second they can, they leave. Maybe there's a reason for that.
No, and by the way, the thing is, it's not as easy because just because you have a talent in something doesn't mean you can sell yourself or have the actual grits to go out and do your stuff. That's just a fact of life. Not everybody has that. So sometimes you need somebody else to get your raw talent out. Just because you yourself won't do it, or at least learn how to do it. There is some kind of worth in a work environment like this when it's community driven, or that somebody that just helps you. But as it is right now, he's completely correct. Because right now you just have parasites that go in and filter. I myself, Acolytes, am a person that actually... I mean, I'm good at what I'm doing, no matter what. I am actually, well, excelling. If you just want to know, Acolytes, I started a job not even 2 years ago, and already accelerated to a, well, position that normally takes 5 years before you're even, well, seen as a possibility to actually get the job. So not 1 year. So yeah, there's that. But I am also a person who will push my workers or the people that are under me to their effing limit. And if they want that, I'm gonna push them even harder. And if they don't want that, well, then fuck them. I'm not gonna waste time on them. Simple as that. You can talk with me and say, hey, you're a bit, because let's be honest, acolytes, by now, everyone who sees me knows me. You know that I can have a bit of a potty mouth or be a bit harsh, and definitively brutal. But I never had anyone in my life that actually more people cried when they didn't see him again or left than me. So take it as you want.
Yeah, community is a glorified group. Yeah, so community in this context is group projects in high school. You got five kid teams working on a project. One kid does all the work. Everyone else just goofs off. Yeah, obviously the four that are goofing off, they're the ones that are pushing for more community. Whereas the one that's doing all the work wants to split. And it's looking like, the free market's decided. The ones who have actual value, they will succeed. And the bloat like this will be left behind. And nothing of value will be lost. Rigney explained to me that the game industry has one ace up its sleeve that other creative fields don't. Its indie market is a commercially viable market. People are paying for these games, he explained. It's not happening for indie filmmakers. Because with a few exceptions, like Clerks, for example, in general, indie films aren't anywhere near as good as, big budget films.
Yeah.
It's relatively easy to make an indie game that at least has the graphical fidelity of a big budget game.
Yeah, the thing is, films are a bit different because it's still a visual thing where you just have to watch it and look at it. And indie studios, well, they don't have the luxury, not do they, to actually make something that great to that degree if it's live action. If it's on a PC, maybe, but yeah, most of the time, I mean, we don't have to lie to ourselves, it's not that great. But games, on the other hand, yeah, you can create something freaking beautiful. You can do basically everything you want. It just will take time. I mean, just look at Dwarf Fortress. It's a freaking this game. I still have to start play it again, but it took years upon years upon years, and the guy has just made it. It's done. People actually bought it to a high degree, and it's a game that definitively doesn't fit the mold for a lot of people, and yet he sold well enough, and he's done. One guy. And it's a freaking PC crasher, so.
Game. Relatively, of course. This isn't happening for books. That's bullshit. It is happening with books. Like, there's a reason that the book market in general is kind of flopping right now, because books they're making the same mistake that games are. The big publishers are publishing dog shit. So it looks like the market itself is contracting because the big publishers are losing customers hand over fist. But book readers are not just going to stop reading books. They either read older books or they read more obscure indie books. Yeah, none of these idiots know what they're talking about, man. This is obviously an article by game journalists for game journalists. And what's happening for indie games is small studios won't replace the jobs lost at major publishers, but they will create an opportunity for the most creative and most determined people. Okay, now that's true. And that is why the bloat is being left behind, because the bloat are not the most creative or most determined people. But don't
Yep,
rush off
fair
to
enough.
start your indie dreams. It's still just as true as it was for years that most indie games do not succeed. Absolutely true. This is why my advice is, if you want to make a game, get a job in a different field that doesn't eat up too much of your time and stress, and then make the game on your own time as a hobby. And then once the game is finished, you can release it. You can see how it does. If it's a complete flop, oh, well, I mean, you did it for fun as a hobby anyway. You still have your day job. I guess
Yeah.
it's time to try again or maybe do something different. If it does succeed, okay, once you've made your fortune, okay, then you could quit your day job and focus on more game dev. That's my advice anyway. I
Yep.
would say you do it that way. And plus, if you
Fair
maintain
enough.
the
Yes.
day job, you can get money to hire people to do the things you can't do. That does, and those that don't succeed can still be financial fodder for the shovel merchants of the world. Your technology companies, your payment processors, your game platforms, your investors, etc. Plenty of companies are standing ready to profit on the devs gunning to be the next Schedule 1. So did the Schedule 1 guy go with a publisher, or did he self-publish his game? I'm going to look at that real quick. I'm going to see who the publisher is for Schedule 1. TVGS. No, the developer self-published that game from the looks of it. So indie developers, take note. This guy didn't need a big publisher.
Yeah, the thing is, you don't need a big publisher per se. I'm gonna be honest, publishers are also parasites for the most part. There are some, don't get me wrong, because there are some that are actually good, that actually try to help indie developers, but you don't need it per se. It's nice to have, but nothing that you have to do, in my opinion.
Now, it's true. If you go with a big publisher, they might be able to get you a lot more sales because they have a lot bigger network. But in return for that, they own the game, basically. Like, if you go with a publisher, and again, the deals could differ, but in general, the publisher owns the game.
Yes.
You're basically work for hire now on your own game.
Yes.
You don't have any creative control anymore either. The publisher gets all the say. If you go with a publisher, you've destroyed all reason you had for even doing this independently in the first place. You may as well just sign up to work at Ubisoft at this point. It was a publisher do beyond marketing. They often fund you as well. Yeah, the publisher provides you with the money to keep working. That's why I said keep your day job and do it on your own time so you don't have to worry about that. The more independent you can stay, the better. All right, is there a way deprofessionalization could benefit the developers left behind? Yeah, if they get good. But you don't want to hear that, do you? Because you're a fake gamer. All right, Rigney raised one fair point. Part of the reason some indies are running circles around large companies is that those companies can mismanage creative so badly they go for years without shipping a game. It's not even just that, but when they do ship the game, it's dog shit. How many hundreds of millions of dollars and almost a decade worth of time was spent on Concord? If someone smart could crack that problem, improve management at large organizations, and make sure the games make it out the door.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, the time spent on Concord was, in my opinion, worth it. Until this day, we have something to laugh at. We literally got one of the biggest fucking flops in the entire history of gaming. One of the, if not the biggest flop of this altitude. It's just beautiful. Not only it's a good game that I would buy and play kind of way, but just the mere disaster it was. It was so good.
That could be a way to balance out the trend. I've been telling you this for years. Look, I'll tell you the solution now because I know you idiots won't listen anyway. Make sure the people that have creative control of the project are actual creatives themselves and fans of what they're working on. That's literally it. Stop taking creative control away from the most qualified people and giving it to marketing, giving it to a middle manager, giving it to a bean counter, giving it to an MBA, bruh, giving it to committees and focus groups. That's your fucking problem, but you're not going to listen because you're idiots. Doesn't matter how many times I've been saying it for years. I'll continue saying it for years. And you fucking idiots are going to keep ignoring me, even though you see all around you examples of what I said proven right. Right now, none of the solutions are well equipped to solve all the problems. That's another problem these big corporations have. So you come to them with a solution that is good enough, and then the managers kick it back. Oh, but it's not a perfect solution. And then we saw that with Expedition 33. The good developers that were working at Ubisoft got sick of working in that environment, so they just gave up. They left, they made their own, and they showed their old employer how it's done. Yes. Do you think Ubisoft is going to change now? Do you think they're going to implement what they've learned? Oh, of course not. If anything, they're gonna start implementing even worse NDAs and non-competes. We need to make sure that our best talent can never leave us and show us up again. Now, I work in venture capital, which isn't great for funding individual games, but can work well for funding teams that are pursuing large-scale growth via some new distribution and technological edge. Yeah, and that's why this guy doesn't know anything. He works in venture capital. Venture capital is the primary source of enshittification. Now it's making sense why these people are so clueless. They only look at it from the lens of how can I milk the most money from this thing. Indeed, PAX East showed that we need creative solutions. One shouldn't need to be a social media wunderkind, a AAA veteran with years of hard-earned experience, or a jack of all trades to have a career in the game development. Well, it's competition. It's a free market, man. It's a meritocracy. You're not owed a career in game development.
Correctly.
If you're worth a shit, you'll succeed. If you're not, you won't. It's that simple. But the problem is, like, a lot of these people, like, they're just not willing to accept that maybe the problem is them. Maybe they're not as good as they think they are. Maybe they suck. Yeah, I mean, there are instances of legitimately talented people just getting screwed by RNG.
Yep.
But those are exceedingly rare. Most of the indie games that failed on their own merits or lack thereof. That path does bring us some wildly inventive games, but leaves us a community of developers hustling on gig work to keep their dream alive. And what's the problem? So the people that with the actual talent succeed, those without it don't. What's the problem? Unless you're part of the untalented bloat, I don't see a problem with this. But I'm just beating the dead horse at this point. It's obvious that these people are untalented bloat, which is why they have a problem. We don't need to take them seriously, though. The free market's going to filter them out in no time. They can write all the articles they want. They could bitch all they want. It's not going to change anything. They're going to be gate kept from the industry and filtered out soon enough. We just got to outlast them.
Fair enough. A lot of good points make, a lot of good points intook. It's just, it's those fuckers just cry about it. And if you don't have talent, you're gonna cry about it and want more. And for some reason, people actually, it works. I just don't get it. Instead of just saying, get the fuck out. I don't need you. You're worthless for me. They just try to freaking keep every parasite they can. But, as it is, acolytes, good night.